Is it cold where you were at?
Yes, outside. But I bought a new kerosene heater, and it is very nice in here right now.
I told you.
Good for you.
Told you he was going to be warm.
Yeah,
Nice and warm.
like I'm gonna shed this jacket. Even it's like 68 degrees in the garage.
That's awesome. I can't see what that says. It's
can't read that. Minus 22. Is that what that says?
That's exactly what that says.
That's the real temperature.
Yeah, that's the real temp.
Wind
the
chill.
wind chill is
Oof.
Let's see what this old wind chill is.
35.
Yeah, it's cold. Yeah, negative 34.
Yeah. Damn, I nailed that.
Yeah, you did. Good work.
No stranger to the cold.
None.
Yeah, that sounds.
That's inside weather though, for sure.
Yeah. I went outside had to gather some wood, and my fingers were frozen in 5 to 6 minutes tops. I had gloves on too. Like it wasn't like I just went out without gloves.
If you've never experienced negative 20, what happens is you take your first breath outside, and your nose hairs instantly go stiff, and it feels like you can't breathe, and the air hurts your face, and then you want to go back inside right away.
Yeah, it's not anywhere near that cold here, but today the high.
God, I hope not. You guys would be
tomorrow
dead.
The highs. Tomorrow the high is 11. Monday's the high is 16. Tuesday the high is 15. It doesn't get back
that's
above
cold
freezing
as shit for there.
Thursday, so
that is so cold.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is definitely not thoroughly enjoyable. Got 3 heat lamps going underneath my house right now. Yesterday that rained a bunch, and I was on the phone with Doug, and I got up underneath the house, and there was standing water underneath there. I'm like, this isn't good. Like I was on the phone with Doug when I got up underneath there. I'm like, so yeah, there was standing water. Nobody that listens to this podcast is ever going to be in the market for my house when we put it on the market here just a little bit, because they know all of the things. But yeah, it's like coming in from outside. There's not a leaking pipe, but they coming in from somewhere outside. And so anyway, I got back up underneath there last night because I was in the kitchen. I had these heat lamps on, and I smelled something like a little like it was like a candle, like somebody blew a candle out. And I'm like, I don't like that. Turns out Lacey had turned a candle or blew a candle out, but I was like, I don't care. I'm still going to go check. And so I'm in my sweatpants. Yeah, I'm in my sweatpants and my t-shirt, and I like put my coveralls on and my jacket and go back. I'm like, I'm not going to be able to go to sleep if I like think that there's something on fire underneath. Yeah. So by the time I got up there last night, like 9 o'clock or something, all the water was pretty much gone. It's just a little bit muddy, but it's all receded already, and nothing was on fire or smoking that I'm aware of yet. So
that's a win.
But yeah, it's a full-time job just keeping the old pipes from freezing around this part.
Man, fire scares me. Like I bought this heater yesterday, and they got this kerosene, and it's like, okay, I've used one of these before, but like it was my dad's, and it was like, worn in, like had some experience behind it. This one's brand new. I'm like, I just don't really trust it. Yeah. And so even if I'd have to go back inside for a few minutes, I'd come back out and like look at it like, okay, do I have this thing set up right? It's not going to.
Well, those kerosene heaters, from what I understand, like, I mean, it takes about 7 minutes. You turn that thing on and you turn it on high, and your garage is going to be plenty warm. Like it should. It's not like a guy's got to leave it running all night to keep the garage from getting too cold. You just turn it on, and 15, 20 minutes later, you're freaking 70 degrees in there, ready to rock and roll.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Yep. But
heck yeah. I was thinking about what Logan was talking about, and he's like, what is anxiety? Like, what's that feel like? And like what you were saying, and I was telling you, it felt pretty much similar to what you're saying. Everyone has anxiety. Like, even if you don't think that you do, I think that people go through it and don't recognize it as like overdoing it or doing too much, or man, I just need to take a step back for a second and take a breath. I talk to clients all the time, and they're like, well, I'm anxious. I don't know. Every time I go to do something, it's crippling. I'm so anxious. And they think they're the only ones going through that. And I think that we all go through it in some way, shape, or form. And how we handle it and our coping skills is the difference between what it does to us and the effects it has on our body. I've learned so much about handling my anxiety through exercise and breath work and mobility that I feel like were me, myself, and you guys too. Maybe just, Logan never been through anything like this, but you're well equipped to deal with it because you know how to breathe, you know how your body works, and you know how to, you're right now, you're so aware that you're feeling this type of way. You'll feel the opposite once you start to counteract that with some breath work, or like I said, taking a few days off and just saying, I need to focus on me right now, because it's only going to it only compounds. And that's the thing about it. The feeling will go away for a second, and then the next day may come back, or 2 days later, probably 2 times, 3 times the feeling, until you actually address the root cause of it. I just thought that was, when you're talking about it, I was thinking, man, there's got to be other people besides just me that's felt like that. And
oh yeah,
I think it's normal, especially in today's world. Everyone's got some anxiety, and you got to be able to cope with that.
I think the first time I think I ever experienced that was caffeine induced in college, and like, have you ever had that feeling where it feels like you're like, this might be my last couple minutes on Earth,
literally?
Yeah, like in mine was it was totally caffeine induced, and I figured that out like the next day or whatever. But in those moments, it was like really scary, and I never really had that feeling again until the last couple of years or whatever. All the things that we've got going on here, and, trying to grow. Yeah, so Doug, it rubs off. Nervous laugh. No, they're for real. But like having experienced like not exactly like that amount of crippling like anxiety, but still like that, okay, world's feeling smaller. I'm really aware of my heartbeat. Like it feels like no matter what I do, I can't do anything right. You had pinpointed like some of the major things to deal with that, like breath work and mobility and just exercise in general. I find that like stretching really helps because it's kind of like a mental reset. And now obviously knowing what the effects that it has in your central nervous system, it just kind of quiets everything down. That's a really big one for me. But one thing that helped me recognize the signs, so now I can recognize them, was I had gone fishing during one of these like times where I was feeling kind of like pent up or whatever you want to call it, and when I came back from the river, like I felt completely different, and that's when I made the connection, like, oh, that's anxiety. Like now I feel better because I've like gone and given myself a break and kind of refilled my cup up, and I feel totally different. And that was just like a couple hours of like doing an activity that I enjoy and being out in nature or whatever. And so now I can kind of recognize those signs as they come up, because now I know what it is. But until I stumbled across that, like I didn't have that. Like I didn't know what the outlet was.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that's cool. That's really cool. And now that I think of it, when I was talking with Logan yesterday, you said you saw the water and you go, God, can one thing just go right? And you're coming off of being sick and, coming off some other, it's like stressful, being on the road, and then you don't even realize that that's making you feel some type of way, or it's just compounding into top of this, like, fuck, I haven't taken a breath in 3 days,
Mm-hmm.
And you've got to, it's hard to realize what it is until you've been through it. And so I'd almost bet that's what you're going through. But I went through something really similar when we were going to Australia, and I was kind of dealing with the coaches, the missing one coach in particular for an event. I had to find another one in a different country. And I literally said that same thing to myself. And I could just can something go right? Like, I put so much, we put all this time and effort into planning these. And then you just feel like the wheels come off right at the last second. And I literally had to take myself in the room and do some breath work. And that's the game now, is once you realize what it is, it's kind of fun to play with, is how fast can I reverse this? How fast can I make myself believe that this is not reality, and then I have full control over reality? And it's tough, but it's a really, really, for me, it's really useful in getting a hold of really anxious times or times where I feel out of control. And your mindset is everything. Your mental game is everything. And who you have around you is really, really important as well. because you guys have known me long enough. We've all worked together for a good while now, going on 4 years. And Paul and you can read me, you know when something's up. And I was with Paul when that happened, when I came outside, and he was like, "What's up, dude? Like, what's going on? How can we fix what's going on?" And just a quick chat about it, boom, on the other side, and my mindset is flipped 100%. I'm feeling positive and taking control of what I can control, and that's it. Let's keep rolling. And it works out. But it's easy to spiral that other way, especially if you have, say you're rodeoing, your buddies in the truck don't get it, can't talk with them about it, or are negative inherently, and that just the negativity compounds, and it's really easy to spiral the other way instead of coming up out of the hole, right? And I think that's what we're talking about today, was the importance of having good people around you and strong-minded people around you, whether it's your family, your work, or the rodeo rig. That is what we're talking about, right? I didn't just make that up.
Absolutely. No, that was
okay.
Fantastic transition there. Fantastic transition. But yeah, I mean, like people influence you. Like those who are around you influence you, and it really matters who you surround yourself with, because it could have very easily, I would say most situations would have been like you would have brought that problem, Doug, in your example, and had I been like a negative person, we could have easily spiraled that downward really fast and made the problem much worse.
Quick.
But like you said, like having people around you that can read you or understand you, or at least be empathetic in those situations, you can diffuse the situation really fast. And I would say, like, kind of just going back real quick before we totally derail things, but you were talking about like the game of trying to calm yourself down, and I think that's a really important game that you can play, and you can practice this if you have these issues, like anxiety, because I learned this from, I think it was Tom Bilyeu from Impact Theory. He called it, like, instead of meditating, he called it Thinkotating. And so what he would do is he would try to like get into a meditative state immediately after exercise. And so you think about like the symptoms of anxiety: increased heart rate, rapid breathing, sweat, like palms are sweaty. You experience those same exact symptoms right after exercise. And so what he would do is he would finish his workout and then go and try and bring his heart rate down as fast as he possibly could. And it's not like a race. You can't like make it an anxiety inducing thing in the race, but like you just focus on your breathing, focus on cooling down, try and slow down your heart rate. And that's really good practice for like when you do have an anxiety episode, like you can, then you've been there before, like you've fixed it before. And so since you've had the practice, you can replicate it.
Yep. And that's exactly where I learned how to do that, was when I was doing competitive CrossFit. And anybody that's done a CrossFit workout at any kind of intensity over 50% knows that usually when you're done, there are many thoughts of not continuing on in this world. You feel like you're going to die a lot of the times. And the biggest thing with competitive CrossFit is being comfortable with the uncomfortable for an extended amount of time. And something I learned, one way I learned to sharpen that tool and being uncomfortable, being okay with it, was through that. How quickly can I get my central nervous system to relax and get my air back and go on about whatever I need to do? And so I usually I'd go right into my mobility after my workouts. I'd do a quick little 2-minute walk, still breathing hard, get down on the ground and try to get everything to relax, and was focusing on breathing. And I eventually figured out that I could take that same breathing and counting I could do that while I was working out, which extended, took me a whole nother level. Once I could figure out how to breathe, stay tight, and move at the same time, you're dangerous. And in whatever sport that you do, because now you're able to create tension and get oxygen to your brain and body at the same time. Whew. Most of us are doing one or the other. We're either so tight that we can't breathe, or we're breathing and we're too loose. So being able to master that is a huge part of being, I think, an elite athlete in whatever sport that you want to do, whether it's rodeo, gymnastics, football, baseball. You've got to be able to exert maximum effort, but also get air to your system and be okay with being uncomfortable. And we talked about the last school too, Paul, was doing the mobility. I was like, this seems kind of, the right word isn't escaping me, because it seems like a wuss, like you're a pussy, if you're stretching after. And if you can take the mindset of, I need to be able to master my brain, master my train of thought during this. Don't get distracted. How can I focus on breathing and stretching and feeling the sensation in each part of that muscle that I'm actually stretching, or joint group, and use it as sharpening those tools rather than, oh, fuck, I have to go stretch again. This is dumb. This is boring. I could be doing something else with my 10 minutes, but it only takes 10 minutes and you're going to see massive results. So I kind of just derailed everything there, but having that mindset of having a purpose for all of it is really important.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've got to have some sort of why behind what you're doing. Right. I mean, and I think that that's the biggest battle that we face as coaches, as we are dealing with clients and whatnot, is communicating the why. We can write the best programs, we can set them up with the best pre-ride warm-up and the best post-ride stuff, but until we communicate why, there's always a lag in their compliance and their ability to actually do what we're asking them to do. But once you effectively communicate the why, then you a lot of times you start to see them. They dive right in, whereas before they were skeptical, because now they understand, they've connected that. So I think, like you said, having a why for even something small like stretching after you compete is it's essential.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And tying that back.
Well, it's like where the mental battle's won too.
Go ahead, Paul.
Like we say all the time, like rodeo's 90% mental at least. And when you can do those things that are going to increase your control over your mental state, is something as simple as working on your breathing or doing something you don't want to, like maybe it's stretching or whatever. Those are all, notches on the gun belt of mental toughness. And so you're preparing your, I guess, your mind to be able to control itself maybe during like these uncomfortable times, just like Doug's example of CrossFit. And that's just tools in the toolbox for when times do get tough, whether it's the rodeo road or in a specific competition or whatever.
It teaches you to not correlate sensations with how you feel.
Yeah, that's it right there.
Feeling that burn, feeling that uncomfortableness usually makes you feel like, I don't want to do this anymore. But if we can shift it to focusing on, I want to not feel that sensation anymore through breathing and through focusing on something else, but that sensation is obviously there, you can feel a different kind of way about it. You can feel like you can do this. You feel like you can do another second, another minute, whatever it is. If you focus on breathing in, counting your breaths, breathing out, that sensation slowly goes away, and all of a sudden you made it through 2 minutes, and that muscle group feels a lot better. Same thing in like extreme exercise. If I'm focusing on how bad each rep is burning, I'm going to feel like I don't want to continue anymore. If I focus on breathing in my nose, and no shit, if something was going really bad for me in a workout, I would just start smiling, because my brain is, I don't know why, I feel a lot better when I smile than when I'm fucking dying. If I give you the frowny face, I immediately do worse. If I can continue to keep a smile on my face, even though it sucks, I do better. I can feel like I go further. I haven't looked up the exact science on that, but I know there is.
It does change your mental state. Yeah, there is something to it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's real.
So there's just ways that you can control it and like go ahead.
I was just going to say that's another really good transition into, choosing who you surround yourself with. So like, whether you're looking for a traveling partner for the rodeo road, or you're just trying to create a strong inner circle group so that you can, crush life together or do business together, whatever it is, like people around you can help hold that positive or negative influence over you. And a lot of times, left to our own devices, we're going to spiral negatively. But if you have somebody around you that says, like, keep that chin up, or they have a contagious smile, like it's going to help shift your mindset, because it's hard to be negative around positive people. It's hard to be positive around negative people too. But like, if you are that person, that positive person, your power over negativity is a lot greater than negative energy or whatever. They said something like a positive thought is 70% more powerful or something, or 7 times more powerful than a negative thought, as far as like rewiring your brain. And so I think that even probably correlates between person to person. If you've got 2 negative people and one guy that's thinking really positively, those 2 negative people are going to shift to a more positive mindset a lot faster than you're going to be able to drag the positive person down. So when you're looking for somebody to go with, you need to kind of be a little picky, be a little choosy. Don't just jump in with anybody. You want to pick people that are going to bring you up, especially when you're at your worst. And it really helps if they have shared goals and values as you do. So as a rodeo example, like if you want to be a world champion, you probably shouldn't be running with somebody that only wants to win a circuit title, because your goals and values aren't going to be the same. So when the road gets rough for you, you're really not going to be able to, they're not going to be able to help you a whole lot. You might be able to pull them up because you have a larger goal. You might be able to help them through their hard times, but that value is not really going to reciprocate a whole lot. And so you want to make sure that you have the same goals, or you're at least on a similar path together. And I would say, like, the last thing as far as like what to look for is somebody with maybe a different perspective than you. Like, maybe you're really good at riding buck and spinning bulls that are like, really rank right there, but you don't get along with the real trashy ones that are kind of out and wallering around, but you're still going to run into those down the road. So you got to figure out a way to ride them. Well, if you your traveling partner is really good at those, you guys can bounce ideas off of each other and try and figure things out. And then that way you run into a stringer where you're not really drawing the things you want for a period of time. You're not going to have this negative mental spiral, and you're going to be able to lean on the other person to help pull you out of it.
And I think all of those things are super important, not only in traveling partners, but in life. And but especially I think of that last one, like in our dynamic, right? Like, and I can think of multiple times where Doug and I have had a conversation, and like he maybe has said something that I, at that time, like I didn't agree with or I didn't like. And then the more I thought about it, like I realized, you know what, he's actually right. And I know that there's been times where it's been the other way around, or with Paul, but surrounding yourself with people that aren't just yes men. That aren't just going to be your cheerleader and just do whatever you say we're going to do all the time. Like, they're free thinkers, and they care about you, and they want to see you succeed. And so they care about you enough to say maybe what you don't want to hear. And that's crucial to rowing the boat forward, whether it's a rodeo rig, whether it's a business, whatever it is like that. I feel like that is super important. I love that.
Yeah. That's awesome. And I love how you tied that in. I was going to say, you're strong as an individual when you are able to control your mind like that. But imagine what a group of guys or a group of people that are all similarly set in their mind like that. It's nuts. It could be unreal what they could accomplish. I love it. Fires me up. It's not really related to, it's not a rodeo story, but it can relate to mindset and a group of people, how they change their mind. Things can go differently. You're talking about, it's really easy to go down that negative spiral too when things aren't going right. I'm not drawing good. The judges are screwing me. Whatever, I can't get the preferences that I want when I enter. Whatever it is, it's easy to see all those things happen continuously and go down a negative road. So I don't know if you guys have. You ever worked in a restaurant? You guys waited tables before?
I have not.
I've worked in a restaurant, but I didn't wait tables.
Okay. Have you ever seen the movie Waiting?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. That is minus the real bad shit they do to their food. All of the camaraderie and talk, that is how a restaurant works. Okay. It is very, very easy to spiral down a negative hole in a restaurant as a server, because you are constantly working with people. And not only are you working with people, you're usually having to deal with quite a few Karens throughout your shift. Okay. Whether the fact that they don't understand that tips are how you make your money. They don't understand that you get $2 an hour where we lived in Texas as your paycheck. So your paycheck doesn't equal a whole lot at the end of the 2 weeks. Everything depends on tips. I managed this restaurant when I was in college, and it got to this point, man. We went through a month where, I mean, people were not making money and people were not tipping, and the environment that we worked in was bad. Like, I'm talking about sheets of cornbread getting thrown in the kitchen bad, like, people walking back and literally cussing every table they have, like, these motherfuckers want Coke. Eventually I'm like, yeah, that's your job, is to bring them Coke. Like, do it with a smile, And so I sit them all down one day, and I had been reading about the law of attraction. And basically I said, anytime you voice a negative thought and someone hears it, you're going to put $1 in the jar. And on top of that, you're going to reverse that negative thought. So we get a couple dollars would hit the jar really quick there in the beginning, and they start reversing that negative thought instead of, this lady wants extra gravy for a chicken fried steak. Gosh damn it. Like, I fucking hate doing this. Instead of that, it would be, hey, if I go get this gravy a little quicker, maybe she will tip me a little bit more. Or maybe, if I have a smile on my face and it turned into, how long could they fake the smile when something bad would happen? And it would almost always turn around for them. By the end of their experience with that table, they'd be smiling, they'd be laughing, they'd be getting a good tip. And they went from guys and girls not making a whole lot of money, maybe breaking $50, $60 a shift. Dude, we were breaking like a couple $100 a shift with some people. So we started doing sales competitions once it started going up. Like, who can hit $1,000 on sales? And there's nothing over $8 on the menu. So if you hit $1,000 on sales, like, you're doing it, like, really, really doing it. There's no alcohol, no nothing like that. Like, max $10 a person. So guys would start crushing that, and the positivity ran through the whole place, dude. And it was nuts to see the flip in 6 months of what happened to the entire environment, because one person said, hey, we're going to switch this. And then it turned into a game for everyone once they learned they could control that. And did it work every time? No, you still had to deal with shitty people, but it made it a lot more enjoyable for you because you weren't sitting there hating it the whole time. You're sitting there finding little things I could do to potentially make this a little better, potentially make another dollar. That same thing can correlate to rodeo, to business, to whatever, relationships. When you have other people there to hold you accountable, the sky's the limit, whatever the goal is, whether it's to make more money, to win more rodeos, to be a world champion. Like, get people in your rig of rodeo life business that are like-minded like you, will hold you accountable. And like Logan said, will tell you things you don't necessarily want to hear, because those are usually the things in the end that you needed to hear the most. And you will value those things and those relationships the most. You guys got anything else to wrap this up? We kind of just bounced everywhere, but I loved that. That was awesome.
No, I really love that story, because that goes back to exactly what we were talking about. You have a room full of negative people. I don't know how many people are working on a shift, but we went to that restaurant in Huntsville, and I can imagine there's probably 8 or 9 working at one time, maybe. And it took that one positive person to shift the culture of the other, or of the 10 collective people. And that's awesome. That fires me up. I feel different now.
It was.
I think it's that is freaking awesome. And I like, one of the things that I share with clients and teach schools and stuff, like, you're the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time around. So for some people that's a really good thing. For other people that might not be so good. And when you think about the attitudes and the just the mental abilities that your 5 or 4 closest people around you have, like, they're either going to bring you up or bring you down, and we've kind of said that, a positive person can, and you can definitely, Doug just shared an example of a positive person changing a negative mindset, but more often than not, the negative people bring the positive person down. If you think of somebody sitting in a chair trying to reach down and pick somebody up off the floor, is it easier to pick them up off the floor or the person sitting in the chair to get ripped down? It's way easier to get ripped down. And so you have to be super careful about who you surround yourself with. And mind you, while you're being careful about who you're traveling with or surrounding yourself with, you also have to be one of those people that people want to be around. And so it's super important to make sure that you're a positive person. You're not this negative Nancy that's just out looking for positive people. They're not going to they're not going to welcome you in. You're not going to get in that rig. So, no, I love it. I think that, yeah, your circle is, and it is when you find a circle that truly cares about you enough to tell you what you don't want to hear and challenges you and pushes you and encourages you and gives you freedom to do what you feel like your skill set is. That's when you level up.
Yep.
That's when you really level up. And, you know, if you what is it? If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The perfect example of that. So just like one last thing, is we had Sam Peterson on the podcast last year, and he talked about him and Dean Thompson going down the road, and they both had those positive attributes. And so if the other one was ever in a position where, like, you know, they didn't want to get out of bed and go get their workout in, they would wake each other up, you know, and it wasn't always the same one every day. Like there was an inverse relationship there, or, you know, a relationship where they kind of coexisted in this, taking turns of who's the more positive one that day. You know, it was almost a competition. And they talked about, like, you know, as soon as they wake up, like they're trying to get up early, they're trying to get their workout in together. And so that, I think, was a really good example, because we look back at the end of the year and what happened. Dean made the NFR and Sam fell just short. So as rookies, they found the right traveling partners. They were positive with each other all year long, and they, you know, basically elevated to the pinnacle of the sport. And I would say that, you know, talent and everything aside, a large portion of that was due to the fact that they had a good traveling partner relationship.
Good support system. Yep. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It matters, guys. It matters. Pick good traveling partners, pick good business partners, pick people that are going to be there for you, and overall just be a good person. You know, you have complete control over your mind, over what your reality is, and I think we forget that sometimes. So take control of that. Good self-talk goes a long way, and we got to thank our sponsors really quickly. Beastmaster Rodeo have been with us since, the beginning. They are the best in any kind of rodeo gear that you can need. Check them out at beastmasterrodeo.com. Use our discount code ChampionLiving, all one word, caps locked. Gonna save you 10% on all Beastmaster gear. And Hui, man, I still brag on it, but this hoodie, this quilted hoodie, is the most comfy thing ever. You can see Logan's got the dope Aztec hooded one, and Paul's got a sweet jacket on. Use our discount code ChampionLiving, not case sensitive. Going to save you 10% at getyourhui.com. Guys, until next time, for real, we'll catch you later.